Welcome everyone to Plastic Cards Podcast, show where we break down the video game news of the week. My name is Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, indie game dev extraordinaire, Gavin Jones. Gavin, where were you when Mr. Burns was shot?
When Mr. Burns was shot?
Yeah, do you remember that in Simpsons? No? It was a monumental event. Mr. Burns is shot. It's a two-part episode. They end on the cliffhanger. You see Mr. Burns get shot, and then it's a whole deal to wait to figure out who gets shot. Were you not watching that live when it happened? This is 95.
Live? When the cartoon happened live? Was I watching?
Yeah. When it was airing live.
No. Like, I get almost no Simpson references.
I used to think that until you actually know more than I do sometimes. You'll reference like obscure stuff that I end up
That's
not
the thing. Like, there's a lot of Simpsons memes out there. So sometimes I'll just get these memes that are overused, but
it was a big deal when it happened. I remember watching it, and I just the reason why I was down that rabbit hole was I was showing my nephew, old Simpsons episodes, and we were watching that too, and I was trying to explain to him how big of a deal it was when it was happening, because they split it. It was a season finale. You had to wait till the actual season premiere to figure out who killed him, or who shot him rather, but also they turned it into a contest, so you could call in. It was like a 1-800-COLLECT tie-in promotion, so you can call in with your thought of who killed Mr. Burns, and you could win a prize. I think the prize was to get animated on the show too. I'm not sure who ended up winning it, but yeah.
And little did the winner know that eventually everyone on planet Earth would be animated in that show. Next week on The Simpsons, celebrity guest, your neighbor Dave.
And Dave popped on screen. You know what? I gotta give it to him.
It still weirds me. It still weirds me out there with The Simpsons, and maybe it's just because it's been going too long. But that show kind of eventually, it seemingly from the outside, became just like a celebrity cameo fest. Yet when Futurama does it, I have no fucking problem with it. Maybe it's because it wasn't really the whole point of the episode, or I don't really know. But
yeah, I wonder. There's a style in how you do it. I think 90s Simpsons shined where they can kind of balance the whole. Like somebody popping on screen, but then eventually it just got. But also, you mentioned it's a product of that show being on for way too long.
Yeah, like even I would say the closest thing to an exception, but I still feel like it works, is like the episode where Lucy Liu is Fry's girlfriend for the entire episode. But in that context of him being from, was it the 90s, being frozen in time, like that would have been his platonic ideal of his robot girlfriend would have been Lucy Liu. So I feel like they made it work.
Yeah, I need to watch more Futurama. That show doesn't get enough credit, but it's a good one. Well, how you been, Gavin?
Oh, I've been good. Been just chilling, playing lots of video games, being not productive towards game dev, but
well, that's the American dream right there, Gavin.
Right, exactly. My problem is, like, I'm very good and productive during the week, so I'll be like doing exercise, making food, and being good on stuff, and then the weekend comes, and it's like, all right, let's see how many 6-packs we can cram into one weekend.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, my thing is whiskey, so I'm just like, did I ever send you that huge bottle of whiskey, that picture that bottle that I purchased? Okay, well, I think I might have sent you one. It was like, I had an avocado to scale of this huge bottle of whiskey, and we actually went through it pretty quickly. I think that was right when the quarantine hit. So there was basically, we had no groceries, but we had this huge bottle of whiskey.
There's enough calories in there to keep you going.
That's what I'm thinking.
There was one sort of whiskey I was thinking about. Oh, and I may get it for you. For some reason, it popped up on a review show. It was Pabst Blue Ribbon whiskey.
Oh, okay.
Which again, a review show randomly popped up with it on it, and the guys that drink it described it as technically whiskey.
That makes sense with that beer too. That'd be the same kind of thing. It's just filtered water.
Well, the thing with it, and it's clear, so to me it looks like vodka, but they describe, I guess there's another term for basically a whiskey that's not aged. It's not a term I'm familiar with.
Oh.
And that's, but to become a whiskey, like legally a whiskey or technically a whiskey, you have to age it. So they age it for all of 5 minutes.
Okay.
And the guys
on the truck from the place to the actual
the guys in the show said they legitimately could taste like the dustiness from the barrels. So I guess it did impart some flavor from the barrels. But yeah, I thought that was funny, and I totally want to try it because I love Pabst.
I'd give it a shot for sure, but I don't know how. We do have a white whiskey that's still in the bottle. We never drank it, but it's like a I think it's just called white whiskey too. Yeah, it's a clear whiskey, and that must be how they do it. They just don't age it. But this one's technically called whiskey, but I guess you're right. It takes the bare minimum amount of time in the barrel, and then they just serve it.
Right. Yeah. What have you been up to? I know you made your big cool thing. You put that on Twitter too, right?
I did. That was on a
I know
whim,
I
and
called
that
it a big cool thing. It was just a cool thing.
I send you those pictures in private, but on Twitter I did send a picture of this other big cool thing I'm working on. Yeah, this I just on a whim I had this project to like I wanted to paint my PS4, so I took off I found the top shell easily removes. And then I was like, okay, maybe I can actually, I have all this stuff. I painted, did a primer, I did a copper paint. I ran out of, the plan was to do gold because I'm very bougie. So the plan was to do gold, but I ran out of gold paint, spray paint halfway through. And so I had to switch to copper paint. But yeah, I did like this weird two-tone thing. I actually took apart the PS4 controller and realized it's super easy. So now this bug has gone off or whatever, this itch now to like just customize stuff in controller. So I bought a couple of broken PS4 controllers on eBay, and I'm just going to paint them up and customize them.
See, if you're going to go down that route, and I don't know if you have a Wii that you no longer like, but there's a company that put out, well, I guess it is technically a company, plans to convert a Wii into like a Game Boy. They can play Wii games.
Okay, I see stuff like that.
Yeah, it was really cool. So now there's a kit that you can buy, and it has the shell, and you have to make what sounds like not very difficult modifications to the motherboard. You're cutting out most of the stuff, and you put it together, and then you have a little pocket Game Boy. And that sounds like a wonderful project if you're feeling that crafty craft.
I'm feeling that craft. I got it in my bones. I don't have a spare Wii U, or I have a Wii U. Actually, my nephew's Wii U it's like we
I think it's just a Wii. I think so.
Gotcha.
Just a Wii.
Yeah, see, we have a Wii U that I'm sure we'll never ever bring back to life. But we even took it to a secondhand gaming store to like trading for store credit, and they quoted us with $30. So it's like we'll just take it and let it collect dust. It's like it's not worth trading it for that low.
It's more than I thought it would get. I mean, considering everyone and especially their grandma had one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this was the Wii U, so even less people, the one the Wii U turned in. But I feel like maybe the Wii would hold more of a value. But yeah, I could actually see with the Wii, like spray painting the outside, kind of creating some kind of dope, image because it's such a flat, design on the side. That could be pretty cool.
Right.
Or customizing it, like you're saying.
It does kind of blow my mind that that's not more popular, because I remember back when we were in high school, everyone with their Xbox tricked out their fucking Xbox. I didn't know anybody with a regular black Xbox.
Yeah. Did you have friends that modded them too? Because that was a big deal in that
everybody
community.
had modded. Moddable. I still remember. Do you remember Andy's Xbox from back in the day? We all used to make fun of him.
I think I remember him. You guys talking about it. I don't know if I ever saw it.
It was a clear acrylic cube that he thought looked super fucking cool, and it looked super fucking dumb. Oh god! It's just a clear cube with like people, pieces and places, but it just looked dumb. And half the time we couldn't get the disc to eject. So that's
gotcha. That's
our buddy Andy. He makes all my computers, for the record. Anyone out there, he's still the smartest computer person I know.
Yeah, that same genius. Now your disk drives don't work, but otherwise everything else works.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Although who needs a fucking disk drive these days? But yeah.
To be fair, I got my disk drive from Digital Storm, and thing doesn't play fucking Blu-rays or anything. So
yeah, just put a slice of bologna in there, and then
there you go. That's gonna smell good.
What you been playing?
I've been playing a bunch of shit. So I played. Let me pull up Steam because I can do that now.
Oh, fancy.
So Costume Quest. I beat it, and
nice.
it never got any better, which made me sad. It's seriously like this is the most mindless RPG. It took the mildest elements of Paper Mario and put them into a game, and it wasn't that funny, which is disappointing because it's a Double Fine game.
Gotcha.
It was just some milquetoast gameplay. It could have been great, and it just wasn't.
That sucks.
So there was that. Played some more Receiver 2.
Nice.
I played a bit more of Darkwood, which was very creepy, and I'm very scared every time I play it. And it's on this very short time loop. So like in the daytime, you're trying to explore as much as you can and continue the story, but at nighttime, monsters come out and they can kill you. So you want to get back to your house, turn on the lights, board up the windows as best you can. So it's like a very small horde mode at night, and if you're lucky, you won't have to fight much. So it's pretty terrifying.
I'm looking at footage.
The
It looks
graphics
pretty
are
cool.
yeah, the graphics are super creepy. I do think legitimately that it would. I think by being a 2D game, it maybe hamstrings itself. I think it could be a little bit better as 3D, but they spent like I remember this game was worked on forever, so just getting it out there and it looks awesome. And the last one I played was The Suicide of Rachel Foster, which we talked about before on this show.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, it's that super creepy walking simulator. And so I played it, and the graphics are fucking gorgeous. I was willing to take less than 30 frames per second gameplay to experience that game. Also, anything below max settings looks like complete shit. I don't know how just below max is muddy textures everywhere. But yeah, the lighting is just incredible. It looks really realistic.
Did you get to finish this one, or was it too scary rather to finish, or like is it actually?
No, it only really like made me jump once, and it wasn't that scary. But and I thought it was lulling me into like a sense of safety because the first part's really calm.
Yeah,
and it wasn't. I don't know. I got to the end, and the ending just sort of destroyed the whole experience to a certain extent for me.
Oh, like controversial ending, or
say again?
Like a controversial ending, or just something that you weren't digging, or what happened?
Yeah, actually, it does seem to be controversial with people who played it. I looked it up online afterwards because I was like, maybe that's not the real ending, or maybe I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And then looking out on boards, kind of other people were with me. Some people found like a alternate ending, but it doesn't give you the achievement, so it doesn't really count as the true ending. And it just felt bad with the ending. And it seemed like it had so much promise going on. The house is kind of spooky. There's something going on. There's this weird story. And it really didn't seem like it knew how to handle that story, really what to do with it. Like maybe they didn't do enough drafts, or maybe somebody didn't tell the writer, hey, it doesn't work. Or this ending kind of betrays everything you did. And then the voice acting was fairly good, but the writing was kind of funky with it. So I don't know. It was weird. And then also like it almost had a similar dialogue system to how Firewatch worked. Okay. But these characters talk for way too fucking long, and there's not enough distance between where you start the conversation and to where you're going. So by the time I get to the location, we're still in this conversation, and I'm just walking around the room for 2 minutes while it's wrapping up. So
I've been there, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it made me sad that it didn't quite live up, and I can tell you about it when this is all done. But yeah, it was. Yeah.
Is it only on PC right now? I'll do some research too, but I wonder if it's something that like, it could be ported, or like even the Switch. Like I wonder if we'll see some ports of this.
There's no way it's gonna play on the Switch.
Gavin, we say that, but every game after game, like they're bringing fucking Crysis to Switch, so it's like they keep.
I don't know. It barely ran on my rig, which surprised the shit out of me. Because again, I've seen way better looking games that run fine. It always blows my mind. But yeah, so. I don't know. It may be something that you can play on something, but
I'm watching the footage of the trailer anyways. It looks really creepy, really dope. I do want to get into that, and I love these like walking simulator style games. Like I'm a big fan of that, so I do want to try it.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, playing anything else? Just getting your pants scared off playing these games.
Getting my pants scared off. Apparently that's where I'm at. But yeah, playing 11 Receiver 2 and starting to love Darkwood, even though it stresses me out. It's interesting. I want to explore, even if it makes me poop my pantaloons.
You know what? You brought up Receiver 2, and I'm wondering if they could do, either in the same world or a totally different experience, but with that realistic gunplay and then creepy enemies. Could you replace the robots with creepy stuff, and then you have to fumble with your gun, and in a realistic fashion? Could they do that same kind of thing in like just a creepy world?
Absolutely. I mean, the Receiver gameplay could really, really be expanded upon, and I could sort of see it being just a gameplay thing that more people do, and I would love that. I'd really be curious to try it on a controller, because to my knowledge, there's no way to play it on a controller, and I really wonder if that would make it too easy. I think it might. There's something about the keyboard that makes it more awkward, but yeah. What have you been playing? I know you did some Fortnite for the old concert Rooney.
I did. I was playing the Fortnite, getting blown away at that, and then I went also down the. Anytime they change something, I seem to go down the Fortnite rabbit hole, trying all the different new stuff, and then just seeing all the skins and getting hooked and buying stuff, and they always get me. But I've been playing Fortnite, and then there's not really these aren't really indie titles, but they're on Switch, and they were kind of under my radar, and I finally downloaded them. But let's see, one of them is Valfaris. It's this, it's like a metal version of Doom, and it's
I was watching the gameplay of that.
It's super cool, man. It's really, really cool. It's very hard, and so I'm like slowly making my way through it. But the soundtrack is badass. The action is badass. Like there's a lot of cool traversal stuff. And anytime you pick up like this cool collectible thing or power up, your character will do this head banging motion and just like swinging his hair back. Man, it's awesome. It's such a cool, unique little game. I don't know if you've seen footage or interested in trying it.
I watched a review of it, and I'd be curious to get your perspective on this comparison. Something the reviewer compared it to is very, like, it looks like it might be like a Castlevania, Metroidvania style game, but it's really closer to like a Contra, because it is linear. It's closer to a Contra or a Super Turricane. I don't know if you played a lot of those games growing up at all. How would you kind of compare those? Because it is supposedly pretty hard ideas. Too.
Yeah, and at least with Valfaris, it's tough. And I can see the through line of like Contra versus like a Castlevania thing. I haven't experienced too much backtracking yet, but
sounds like there's none.
Gotcha. And that could be what's going on.
Yeah,
I'm not super far into it, but enough where I'm like the seed is planted where I want to keep playing this. But yeah, it's super dope, and just the visuals are really awesome too. It's a very unique, like it kind of, what I love about it understands what it is. So much like Doom understands that identity they've created, like Valfaris is also creating the super metal experience, and yeah, it's really, really cool.
Nice. Heck yeah.
And then this game called Ida on Switch, and it's also on PC as well, or coming out to PC, but it's this kind of almost top down. It looks a lot like Hyper Light Drifter, or there's another one.
Was that the bullet hell one that you were showing me about? It reminds me of
there's another game it's a bunch of different styles that are very similar to this one.
Let's see if I can't find it. But yeah, it was like that boss only style game.
I'm pretty sure I know the same one you're talking about or thinking of. It's like Mega or Might or something, a name similar to that, but it's a very similar style. I'm playing through it. It's really, really hard. For some reason, like harder than that Valfaris game. It's super tough to get through, but it is really fun. But yeah, I'm looking up footage of it now. But I highly recommend it. It's like $15 on the Nintendo store right now on Switch. But it's just the bosses. So it's very much like Shadow of the Colossus, where it's just the bosses, but it is very much bullet hell. There's like a ton of stuff going on at once on screen. So it's very much, once you're in the flow, you're monitoring all these different aspects of the screen, all the different projectiles going, but still attacking the bosses. You can rotate through your different weapons. So it's very
chaotic. Are different weapons. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. The art style is really cool. It's a lot of just really good influences, I think, creating this new game on its own, but I really dig it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to try it. It's how much though?
I think $15 on Switch.
Titan Souls.
There you go. Yep, exactly. Yeah, very similar to that style. Like there's a lot of influence, but not in a negative way. I think they're pulling from these really cool games and then creating something different. And the story's really good too. I like that they give you the breadcrumbs really early on, and it's up to you to kind of figure out what's going on, and it's not heavy-handed with the story with how they deliver it.
Right. And I don't think, and here's the thing too, those are really the only games we have, and I guess technically what's it called has it too?
Titan Souls or Shadow?
No, there's another game where you have a sword.
I had similar ideas of like Journey. There's a lot
what's it called? It's got a one-word name.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna I think it's made by Raw Fury. Is it called Fury? I think it's called Fury.
Oh, okay.
Fury.
You have a sword.
game. Yep, that's it. So, and
Gotcha.
that's a really cool. I think this genre needs to. I don't know if you want to call it a genre, subgenre, but I think this needs to expand more because, like, yeah, we compare it to Shadow of Colossus or Titan Souls because really that's the only comparison we have. Even though this is nothing like this, the only reason I think Shadow of the Colossus and Titan Souls are really like bound a little bit closer than they are is because their art styles are pretty close. Whereas this, like, Fury seems a little bit closer to this game. But yeah, as long as they kind of have their own personality, their own take on it, it's really, yeah, I don't know.
This one does for sure. Like, at least with the art style, and then the chaos of like the bullet hell stuff going on. It is super hard, so I'm very slowly making my way through it. And I'm such a baby. Like, every year, more and more, I just kind of want these, I don't know, easier experiences. But like, I still like really love Doom. Still really love Celeste. So like, I don't mind being punished, but I don't know if this is giving me enough of a way through it, if I'm explaining that correctly. But I still really dig it, so I'm still like incentivized to keep playing.
It's tough to strike that balance, and I think in one of the like tougher ones that I couldn't personally identify with was like Cuphead, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's another one.
Oh, that's
just brutally hard, and it's such a weird, like, it pulls you in with this, old-timey cartoon aesthetic. It's like, oh, this is got to be like a fun, simple kind of experience. And nope, it's just getting just pummeled over and over again. But what sucks is the art style's so cool, and everything they built with like cool, old school animation. It's like I want to keep playing this, but I just physically can't because I keep dying over and over and over again.
I still can't believe with Cuphead that they actually did that old school style frame for frame on a light table. Like, they didn't have I feel like they could have achieved that look without doing it, but they still did it anyway. Jesus Christ.
Well, I think that helps them stand out too. With indies, I think there's way more stories created on a small team that's going out of their way to do something unique, and I think that helps them stand out because maybe they could have created that same effect, but it's more notable now. We remember them more because they took the time and the risk of doing something like that.
It's going to be interesting to see with them, like, what the fuck are they going to do for their next game?
Yeah, I imagine they got the funding now because that game blew up, and so really they can take their time and make something else and animate painstakingly for this next game too.
If I remember correctly, because like they were acquired from Microsoft or Microsoft paid for something, they made their money back instantly before launch day. Plus, they got to keep like their money too, so they're super funded right now. I mean, that's why it's a good idea to align with Microsoft.
Yeah. Nice. Well, yeah, that's really all I got to play. I did download Resident Evil 5 and 6, and so I'm going to go down that rabbit hole as well and finally play those and experience those for the first time. So it's my next project. Between that and taking apart... What was that?
I'm still saying we should play 6 together. I'm just saying.
I just haven't downloaded. That's all I have so far.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there's a sale on PSN. They were like $5 each, super cheap.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Well, Gavin,
we'll break out the giant bottle of whiskey.
Yeah.
And
I'll have to buy a new bottle of whiskey because this one's, I'm building a ship in it, so I'm gonna have to work on that. The other game that I played, was Fortnite. Let's jump into that news article just because it's a good little segue here.
Right.
And I don't have it pulled
up. Shit.
But so it's have you watched footage of it? So it's the Travis Scott event they had. They teased it. It was like out of the blue.
Yeah, I was watching some some clips on Twitter. That's holy production values, Batman. That was nuts.
It was pretty insane. Like, they've done concerts before, but nothing on that level where it's like the entire map changes with you and you're watching this concert and it's all unfolding in this huge just skyscraper size event. It's really, really dope.
Go ahead.
Go for it. Oh no, I'm blown away every time. Like, they keep upping the ante and just proving why they are at the top of their game right now, Epic and Fortnite, like by doing stuff like this.
Right. I imagine, like, especially with the whole like it being interactive and you kind of float around stuff, that must have been really cool to experience live in this thing that's never really happened.
Right.
In that game before. That was pretty cool. The thing it reminded me of, oddly enough, was, did you ever play Grand Theft Auto 5?
Yeah, I think I never finished the campaign, but yeah.
There's a spot, I want to say pretty early on, where I want to say his name is Michael. He's the guy you
Oh,
start as. He gets like really high, and then
yep.
oh, I guess that was a side quest. You don't have to do it, but yeah, you get really high, and you're like floating above the city, and there's colors and stuff. So when you started floating and stuff, it sort of gave me that
Yeah,
memory.
you're totally right. Yeah, because
Um,
he's hallucinating. I think you see aliens, you fight aliens, and a bunch of crazy shit happens. Yeah.
yeah, and they show I thought it was neat when they had the big like globe carnival thing in the background. Which still, like, I always wish with one of these battle royales, I really wish somebody would do something more with the third dimension, right? And I feel like they've gotten better, right? Like even Fortnite improved over H1Z1,
Hmm.
and to an extent. I mean, I feel like Player Unknown Battleground does a pretty good job, but I feel like Fortnite did a way better vertical job, and Apex Legends especially. But
Oh,
like
sure.
when they have that big spherical thing, like, can we please get a battle royale that's on a sphere? And you
That'd
got
be
to
dope.
battle around, and you got to change the way the circle works that way, but make it something interesting. Or like I mentioned on Halo, do it on the Halo style Halo, or actually have a sphere that not only can you go around it, but you can go in it, and
Yeah.
you gotta handle it that way. There's so much more interesting stuff that we could do that people just aren't doing in it.
I think
So
we're going to start to. I imagine we'll start to see that because this game type, this style, isn't going away. It's super popular, so they're going to have to innovate and stand out. You can't just do the same thing. So hopefully, that's what we'll see going forward
right.
as these companies doing stuff like that. Like that Halo idea is super awesome. I'm hoping they would do something like that. That's another way to, because when you say like, "Hey, we're doing Halo and it's going to be battle royale," that automatically leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. But if you're doing something super unique like what you described, I mean, that's awesome.
It does, but at the same time, I would absolutely adore a Halo Battle Royale to an extent, because I think the Halo combat rhythm is one of the best combat rhythms in any shooter ever. It
Yeah.
feels like you win. So if I'm playing Halo, for the most part, if I get shot, I have a good chance to turn around and turn that fight on someone. So it'd be interesting then to have, maybe a shortage of grenades or a shortage of other ammo.
Yeah.
It could be interesting. Just having, I mean, even just really the concept of a battle royale where aim down sights is not a thing.
Oh, interesting. Yep.
It's always been a thing in these things. So it'd be interesting taking that out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hopeful that because there's so much competition, they're gonna have to do new stuff, and that's what we'll see. This kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, with that live event, with the Travis Scott live event, so there's 27.7 million unique players in game participated live, and 45.8 million times across the 5 events to create a fully astronomical experience. I'm reading the Twitter post from Fortnite. So there was 27.7 million unique players that participated in that event. Yeah, it's what a great way to just bring everyone back into it. They've done stuff like where they unplug the game, doing the black hole event. So it's like
That
they're
was
really
still
willing
cool.
to right, and they're really willing to just kind of try these new things, and that's what it takes to stay on top. And I think with Fortnite, they really have to do these because they're the number one spot, so they have to kind of do these outlandish events to keep that spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but at the end of the day, like, yeah, this is bigger than outlandish and it gets them press. But the thing, and I hate, and well, I don't even hate being the negative Nancy thing. You have to remember at the end of the day, this was to sell skins and emotes.
Oh sure, oh,
So when
100%.
these things come out, they've got they have multiple Travis Scott
They do.
skins.
Yeah.
They got emotes. I'm sure they were trying to find ways, like they did with the what you call it, the marshmallow thing, where they're trying to encourage people to buy these. So
Yep.
yeah, it's super cool, but it is laced with that tinge of get your kids to go into mom's wallet and borrow that credit card so you can
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
you can
Never
do
get
the
it
thing.
twisted. Like they're a company first, and they
No.
are definitely crafting it that way. But they almost got me with the Travis Scott skin. I almost bought it. Instead, I went the other direction. They have a hot dog skin, so you're like a human hot dog guy with these cool like skinny jeans. I did buy that. That was like $15, I think, or like I think $12, something like that. I forget the V-Buck translation, but I definitely got that guy. And he's wearing sunglasses too. He's just super cool, and so I had to do that. If I could trade bodies with this guy, I would. I would just walk around like this hot dog man. But yeah, I'm sure if you Google hot dog guy Fortnite, he'll show up. Yeah, he's
I'm
pretty
looking
rad.
at it right now, and I gotta say, the the legs are fucking weird.
Well, how else do you hot dog legs on a hot dog man? It's gotta stand out. Yeah,
I like the weird fucking arms that are sausage links.
right.
That's a weird choice they made that I think pays off. But
Yeah, no,
ooh, but
he's
I hate it.
he's my favorite. That's my favorite dude. That's my dude right there. But yeah, so they did get me there with the hot dog man. But other than that, I think sometimes I'll spend extra like leftover V-Bucks on like emotes and stuff. Like since I already got my money, I'll spend it on whatever random stuff they have too. But yeah, their store is it's time based. So if you don't jump in on the thing, you lose it. So I think that also incentivizes kids really to bug their parents to get the thing because they're going to lose the opportunity to buy the skin.
There's a hot dog trail skin that is also creepy.
I haven't seen that. Is that in Fortnite or in some other weird window you have pulled up?
It is Fortnite's, and it is. All right, hold on, my cat's stuck in here.
That damn cat. It's always doing something.
You don't have thumbs. It's like reaching at the doorknob like he's gonna figure out how to fucking open it.
I see. Well, yeah. Other than that, not a whole lot going on as far as the games I was playing. But yeah, I jumped in on that because it was pretty nuts. But we'll go into some of these other stories here. This one just had an interesting trailer, so I wanted to kind of break it down and get your take. But it's the 2K confirms no WWE 2K21. Instead announces WWE. Your cat, does he want to leave again or what?
I don't fucking know.
If he's anyway. It sounds like a regular cat, unsatisfied. But yeah, so it's 2K announced this new wrestling game. It's WWE 2K Battlegrounds. So they've scrapped, at least for this year, the 2K21 franchise. With the last year it was pretty famous for being just super buggy, all the crazy like gifs of the game freaking out.
Oh yeah.
Instead they're doing this like more cartoony looking game. So I have I'm gonna pull up the trailer here, but yeah, I don't know if you've seen footage of this thing yet.
The trailer does, or that link doesn't seem to wanna. There it is.
Okay. But yeah, they're very cartoony and like shortened, almost like just smaller people version of themselves.
It reminds me of those toys.
Oh sure, yeah, they did a lot of toys like that
a while ago.
But yeah, and there's for some reason there's like an alligator that you can be thrown into, and like environmental hazards and stuff, and it's just kind of redonkulous. But that's what they're doing this year instead. So,
I mean, it looks fun.
Yeah.
That looks like, even as like, I mean, I haven't played a wrestling game since I was a little kid, and even then I didn't find them that much fun. But make it video gamey like this.
Right.
I'm down for that. There's no reason these people shouldn't be doing, big fiery fist and like. I mean, to be fair, I think wrestling fans are gonna want a true simulation style, wrestling game, and that's fun for them. But I mean, this would get me.
Right. Yeah, and I'm same here. It's almost like the NBA Jam version of of wrestling games. Like just lean into that weirdness, cartooniness, and the last wrestling game I played when I was younger, I was super into wrestling. So like the Nintendo 64 games that came out, where there was like No Mercy or WrestleMania at that time, like I ate those up every time. Like I love those games, and you could customize characters and create other characters that were like on WCW, which was like a competing faction at that time, like. And so that was the last time I jumped in. That's what, 2000, 1999, something like that.
Did you play the one that like the intro is like Sting, and there's like a semi truck coming at him, and it's just cutting back and forth and like lightning flashing?
No, was that a bad dream or something, or that really happened?
No, that was a lot of people really like that one. That was my favorite from that era. But I've never been not frustrated by the whole stamina system, the way you defeat your enemy.
Sure.
Where you just like tire them out and then pin them.
Pretty much, yeah. And you can build a special meter, but yeah, it's really just tiring them out so you can pin them basically. Then
the match lasts like 2 hours, and you were done with it 20 minutes into it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I dug them, but this is maybe I'm not gonna buy this, but it's like that's out of all the games that have been in this past couple of years, like this one is maybe more interesting. Maybe if it's cheap enough on Switch or something, I'd jump in. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting.
It'd be cool to see, because they're going fantastical with it. Like, wasn't there like an alligator in that trailer?
Yeah.
If they're gonna go fantastical with it, go really fucking fantastical with it. Bring in, grabbing an alligator from under the stage and beating your opponent with it. Just really lean into it. It could be the best selling WWE game out there if they
Yeah.
really lean into this. I don't.
It could appeal more to kids and just like a wider audience, and lean into that
Yeah.
cartooniness and
I'd be curious to know what actual WWE fans think about it. Really.
Yeah, I wonder.
But,
I imagine they'd be upset that they're losing that mainline, like just traditional realistic version of it. But the last one was so buggy that I think that left a bad taste in people's mouths. So maybe this is a good palate cleanser and then fix the bugs behind the scenes, and then come back with that newer one.
No, it looks cool. I'm down for it.
And those games traditionally sell, at least the mainline one. So we'll see how this one goes. But
yeah, absolutely. I was really liked on Twitch. They had this weird. I don't know if they were hacking it or what they were doing, but they were like getting video game characters into it. Like a lot of times, like really poorly. Like they do really weird paint jobs, and you had to use kind of your imagination. Like Bowser was like a green guy with like spiky hair and the spiked shoulder football pads, which I think a wrestler had at one point. But it was fun. And they do it like weekly, and they had all these batshit crazy storylines behind all of these, and it was really fun to watch, even as a non-wrestling fan. And then everyone's like voting on who. I think people were voting on who was going to win, so it was really, and that would affect the plot line. So it almost, I mean, for me, it kind of out WWE'd WWE just from that batshit crazy plot lines. But
that's a great idea. I mean, leave trust in Twitch to just like figure out a new genre basically to create off of this. That's pretty awesome.
Can you imagine? Like that would have been almost, if not a full-time job, just to do that shit. Coming up with those plot lines, making all those skins, doing all that stuff. I don't know if it was just a simulation to run the fights. I assume it was, and if so, that's pretty cool. Having a simulation guide the plot line for the show. How crazy is that? Because that's not how regular wrestling wins. There's a determined winner before they go in there. It's much
real,
more
Gavin.
exciting.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's 100% real. These are documentaries we're watching, but other than that, I disagree with you. But.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes. But the next news article I have here is just more info on Fallout 76. So we talked about last week. Last year, it feels like it. Last week, that single player.
It's over a year old at this point.
That's true. Yeah. Well, the Wastelanders DLC launched last week, but there's some bugginess, I guess, with the NPCs looting dead bodies. So this is from IGN has the details here. Jordan Alamon writes, Fallout 76, Bethesda investigating bug where NPCs permanently steal your stuff. Bethesda is investigating a bug reported by players where Fallout 76's new NPCs are looting items from their corpses and keeping them. The strange glitch has been noted by several users on the Fallout 76 Reddit, with posters claiming that they've lost hordes of ammo and expensive weapons. Upon death, players are waking up to find the guns they were using and the ammo attached missing from their inventory. Later, they've noticed that the same gun they were using in combat is now in the hands of a nearby NPC, suggesting that it had been looted from the player's corpse upon death, and then those NPCs can't be looted back. So it's,
how does this fucking happen?
I don't know. And they're the fact that they don't even know that the NPCs are doing this. Like they're looking into it now because they didn't realize that they were. I don't know if they become sentient now and they're just like looting bodies as a payment or revenge for people shitting on Fallout 76 or something. But
I just imagine this like when the devs hear about this, because like out of all the bugs that are possible, that shouldn't be one of them. So I imagine being told that they're like, what? No.
Yeah, the guys, they
Wait,
crack
really?
the knuckles. They're like, oh, well, we shipped, Fallout Wastelanders. We can kind of rest a bit. And they turn on in a couple of days like, nope, the NPCs are now murdering everyone, and they're running the show, and they're stealing everyone's loot.
Oh, I promise you, nobody at Bethesda thought that they shipped the product and they're done.
Very true.
So, hey, most professional devs know that when you ship, that's when the
real work starts.
Yeah, well...
The work on top of the work on top of the work.
Yeah, the work on top of the work. It's sort of it's a weird thing, but
yeah, this one was strange because once the NPC loots you, you can't get that loot back. It's so because of another bug, you can't then loot an NPC for any reason. So they're just they keep your stuff. Some of the things are hard to get back. So in that article they mentioned. So this is a major problem, as it seems expensive and rare weapons that players have worked hard to purchase or unlock are being lost, with no clear means to recover them. One particular post mentioned that a player lost an explosive machine gun that they spent 15,000 caps on. A few posters have singled out the event missions, Radiation Rumble, and Riding Shotgun as being a particular source for the bug, so you may want to avoid them for the time being. So yeah, if you've spent like your own either in-game currency you've earned or just money you've thrown at it, it's lost until they can hopefully they can track your item and then bring it back to you. That sounds like a whole mess though. Yeah, good luck in that.
I don't know, and it's one of the it's one of those things too where I don't know, like WoW, right? Like let's say this happens in WoW. They can just do a server rollback. It's not it's a big deal, but it's not that big a deal.
Gotcha.
I kind of doubt they have the ability to do a server rollback in a game like this, where it is that while the servers aren't private, they're more private than they were, or certainly in the World of Warcraft. I have no idea what the fuck they're gonna do.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, it's definitely a serious situation where it's like people spending their money to get these things and now they're lost. But it is very comical to hear that it's happening. But I'm hoping people get their shit back, one way or another.
I'll be really curious to know if the NPCs are actually stealing these weapons or if it just looks like they're stealing these weapons. Because the guns don't really look all that different in this game.
It's possible
to me.
Or they're dying, and then the game is just giving them their loot. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's just stuck to them, something like that.
Yeah, but why would that happen, though? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, this whole thing, God, it makes no sense. Because I assume like, why would the NPCs even be able to loot in the first place?
Yeah.
That makes...
I don't know. That's the thing. We're not really sure. I mean, I don't know if they know what's going on or the game is now alive and it's deciding for us. And we'll see.
It's gone sentient. That's so fucking strange. It'd be even better if it was like that. It wasn't like the enemies killing you like you thought it was. It was actually the NPCs that did it.
Right. That's awesome.
That's too strange.
So yeah, speaking
but
of
they
strange,
played into it, like really lean into it, and then all of a sudden you thought the NPCs were going to make it more fun, but now you don't know who you can trust. And then you got to really lean on your real life buddies.
See, that's what Fortnite would lean into that and make it a whole thing, but I don't know if Bethesda can switch gears that fast and turn it into some kind of storyline or something.
That's just insanity.
Well, let's see. One thing I also thought was very strange. This next article here is the next Modern Warfare update download clocks in at 15 gigabytes. So while that at face value doesn't sound like that huge, it's a big hefty update. But what is crazy now is this game, Modern Warfare, including Warzone, is now up to like 170 gigabyte download. Like if you're to download the entire thing, like it's a meaty game now. It's kind of insane to expect console players to be able to, unless they're upgrading their hard drives. It's like that's a huge install.
Yeah, I can't.
Right. So the actual article here is from CN Mayer of VG247. It appears the next Call of Duty Modern Warfare update is due to clock in at a whopping 15 gigabytes. From the Infinity Ward blog post, it appears that the update will be exclusively geared towards console players. Tuesday's update includes a required download for PlayStation 4 and Xbox at 15 gigabytes. So a portion of the 15 gigabyte path will be dedicated to security updates. So this is part of the story too, to both games. While matchmaking has been updated to place suspected cheaters into matches with one another. Additionally, Infinity Ward is deploying more resources to its enforcement teams, among others, to help rid the game of cheaters. So that's kind of tied to this whole thing, is that they're apparently possibly just pairing cheaters with each other. So once they find them, they're just playing in one big cheater smorgasbord map, which is... I want to be a fly on the wall and watch those cheater-on-cheater matches, though. That sounds like a pretty crazy situation.
I mean, I feel like I'd seen it back when I played Apex, because there'd be so many cheaters in Apex that I'm just watching my cheater teammate get whose aimbot works slightly faster. I mean, to be fair, they play the game differently when they have an aimbot, so it'd be interesting to see how the game evolves in a server full of aimbots.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they did this because, partially because console players, back when they were playing with the PC players, they were getting frustrated with the aimbots, which, I mean, you're still playing against PC players. Even if you don't have aimbots, PC players are going to dunk on you.
Yeah.
So.
Right. But so this is just tied to them
pretty funny.
Trying to, bring in the cheating aspect of it. And you're right, kind of help out the console players. But I think it's been done before in other games like this, where they just pair the cheaters with each other. I want to say PUBG is doing something similar. Of course, they're outright banning people for sure, but this seems like a cool way to just keep their money in the game too, like keep them buying stuff and participating, but they're in their own pool. But then also, I want to see what those games look like when it's just like cheaters, using all these hacks against other cheaters.
Right. And I would be curious to know if maybe, just maybe, it would deter cheaters. Because that's the biggest thing. Like, yeah, they cheat, then they get banned, so they create a new account because these games are free. So then they cheat again, and eventually they get banned. So they're just ruining everyone else's fun. So there's a chance that they're gonna ruin somebody else is gonna ruin their fun for a little bit before
Right.
they get banned, and that or before they try and figure it out. So maybe that would frustrate them out of the game. We definitely need more people experimenting in this method because cheaters are so prevalent in these games. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful that someone is trying this.
I agree. I agree. It's like it's always a changing problem that you kind of have to adjust to
Right.
what they're doing, and it's a constant thing. You got to balance with these crazy, crazy cheaters and these crazy multiplayer games. But it is
Yeah.
what it
And
is.
if it works, then that's cool. I think that's sort of the tricky thing with it though, is like there's that old adage like, if these people get caught, then they'll just get craftier next time, right?
Yeah.
So, and up until this point, they haven't given two shits
Right.
about being crafty because they're just gonna come back. So maybe, just maybe, they'll get craftier. I
Right.
know when I'm playing against PC people that sometimes it feels like they have an aimbot, but they're just that fucking good.
Sure.
But you can still tell,
I imagine.
like,
Yeah. There's a way they can
especially when you
snap
watch
to an
those
enemy.
replay cams. Yeah. So
Gotcha. Well, see what they do with that. Gavin got some Stadia news. So we got Google Stadia Connect announced for April 28th, which is tomorrow. So we're going to figure out what's going on with our old pal Stadia here tomorrow. So the original article is from IGN. Adam Bankhurst writes, Google is hosting another Stadia Connect on Tuesday, April 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube. This Stadia Connect arrived shortly after Stadia began rolling out the free option for a streaming service that allows anyone with a Gmail account to sign up and stream games they purchase with up to 1080p, 60 frames per second, and stereo surround sound. It may be too early to hear from some of them, but Google Stadia has been building up its first-party studios with moves like hiring former God of War executive producer Shannon Studstill to lead a new Google Stadia games and entertainment studio in Playa Vista, California. Stadia also recently acquired Typhoon Studios, the developers behind Journey to the Savage Planet. So yeah, we're gonna hear some Stadia news hopefully tomorrow. Are you hopeful to get some some cool drops of info? Or is it too little, too late for Stadia? What do you think?
no, I think they could do something. I'm very curious about them purchasing the devs that did Journey to the Savage Planet because that game, despite the fact that I don't think it had a huge budget or a huge team, it was a looker.
Yeah.
It was good to look at when it was running local on your machine. So I think they could take advantage of some added power. I really hope we see something. It seems like Google is trying to tout this game. I always have the trouble remembering its name, but it's called The Pathless, which is a really cool sort of Breath of the Wild style-ish
Oh, okay.
almost, but not quite game.
Yeah.
It was announced forever ago. Their website, they've been bad about doing updates. Their website only like finally updated to saying the game was going to release in 2020 instead of 2019.
Gotcha. Then they logged off.
But the game
and
looks
that
gorgeous. Yeah, like I saw a couple of interviews, people that have actually played it say that like fighting an enemy is a lot more like a rhythm game than like aiming and doing stuff. So that sounds really exciting to me. So I'd love to see some of that. I know Google was kind of touting that game in its trailers, just little clips.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be nice to see more. That being said, I need to try Google Stadia. I don't think I can run it on my internet though.
You think so? What are you averaging with your speed, like when you do a speed test?
If I do,
I want to say the bare minimum's like 30, or at least that's like the ideal scenario. And then it gets better from there up.
if I do Steam downloading with no limits on it, I can maybe hit 8. Which I mean that was able to run the GeForce or whatever it is, the
Right.
Nvidia Now thing pretty good. But well, until I tried to play Fortnite and then was
Yeah.
whew, that was rough.
It was creating that Travis Scott visual without the game actually even intending to. It was just twisting the world upside down.
That's giving it a lot of credit where credit is not due.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I
I'm
don't know.
hopeful
I'd
that
give it a shot.
Yeah. I mean, now they're having that free, that 2-month free thing. I think you just have to have a Gmail account or whatever. So now just have to jump in.
Yeah, try out some of those games. See what they had. I forget what was available for free. What was it again?
Yeah, it's free for 2 months if you have a Gmail account, and then you can choose to. I think that gives you the normal $10 a month like subscription, where you can try some of the games for free as well, and then that eventually like that just automatically bills to your account. Like if you go past the 2 months. But yeah, so you could try out some of the games. You don't have to buy anything there. You can actually just try it. Like I tried out the game from Bungie. I forgot why I'm blanking on the name, but the shooter from Bungie. Destiny, yeah. That little game that no one knows about, Destiny 2. I was playing that, and it streamed really well. It was the 1080p, and it worked really fine.
Nice.
But yeah.
Oh, I'll try it out. See how it plays.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll get some cool announcements. They've had a rough year, so I'm hoping that they can maybe show off like, hey, we've acquired more studios. We have a clear plan for how the rest of the month, or rest of the year rather, is going to go with new features. There's still stuff that they promised at launch that they don't have. The way to like jump in and out of a game by watching someone stream, that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that they can announce stuff like that.
That's right. Yeah, watching a stream and being able to like jump in and play like basketball against them or whatever.
Right.
And, like that's still such a cool idea. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm hopeful. That's tomorrow 9 a.m. So we'll see what they announce there. The next
It
one
is pretty strange with Stadia. Like it feels like they didn't research any other console release ever.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They kind of, you imagine, because they've acquired a bunch of smart people over there. So it's like, you have to imagine that they are understanding what they're doing wrong, but it's just like, it was just mistake after mistake and just kind of bump after, series of bumps with launching it. Yeah. We'll see how it goes.
I mean, it's unfortunate. Like Google's kind of got this reputation after a while of just sort of half-assing a whole lot of stuff and letting it die.
Right.
Like, do you even like how hard did they even push Google Glass?
I don't know. It seemed like for a minute that was going to be like this next wave of the future, and they just kind of slowly went away. And that's a cool, really huge, shift in technology. And they just said, yeah, but we're not going to proceed with it. But I'm not sure why.
Like you even look at like the watches. Like it seems like people buy an Apple Watch because Apple pushes it. Right. Nobody buys an Android Wear because they don't fucking push it. Yeah. Give us a reason to do it.
Also, was it their fiber internet? They're doing like their own Google Fiber, and I think that's still available. But they're not trying to push that further into.
It is, yeah. It costs them too much money.
Gotcha.
They're not.
That might be the reality too. Even
it.
with Google Glass, it was like this is gonna be way too much to actually, produce this in mass, and maybe they just gave up because of that reason.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it kind of had its own problems. Oh, that reminds me. By the way, because I was holding my Rubik's Cube.
Oh.
So I was playing. Completely random here, but I was playing the Suicide of Rachel Foster, and I saw a Rubik's Cube in it.
Oh.
And I became upset. Mildly upset. Because the colors were wrong.
Weird. So like a totally unique, or just like a shift on colors, or what was going on?
Well, these are in a specific order. So they put white next to yellow, and white will always be opposite of yellow. And green will always be opposite of blue. Orange is opposite of red. And they're just putting these side by side. And it was a really dumb thing, but it's like that would take such a small amount of time. It was a great looking wrong Rubik's Cube. It would take so little amount of time to just look that up. But I guess if you don't know it, then you wouldn't know.
That's very strange because I kind of picture Rubik's Cubes with synonymous with nerds, with devs, with like programming, like where you would understand Rubik's Cube and you'd be playing it while you're developing, or like it'd be in that team. So for them to get it wrong is that's a real drop of the ball, or drop the Rubik's Cube there.
Although I'm sure the artist that worked on it would probably be like, yeah, I think you're the nerd that has the problem.
Right, because you're typing a letter away like, excuse me, you got the color order wrong.
But I guess, that's the thing. If people don't know that, again, the Rubik's Cube goes back into the same order every time when you put it back, and that there is a specific order to these colors, then I'm just going to say, fuck it, throw it on there. I looked up what colors are on it, and then we called it good.
I was hoping you can tell me that you saw it and you can actually manipulate it in the game. Like, that's pretty dope if they did something like that, but I guess they didn't.
I would have been all over it. But
you never finished the main game. You just did it.
Just over there trying to get my time down on the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. Well, Gavin, I'm interested to see your take on this next thing. So this is a logo reveal. Joe Screbbles of IGN has the details here. Microsoft has trademarked what seems to be the logo for Xbox Series X. Filed on April 16th, the treatment follows a similar style to the Xbox One X and S logos. The X in particular differs from the title treatments we've seen from the upcoming console previously. You can see it below. So the first one I have shown you is the traditional Series or the Series X image as they released it, rather. But the Series X like mock-up next to it is not real. That's just like a concept of where they could take it, because it seems like the Series text that
Wait, so
up,
this isn't real? I thought they revealed this.
Yeah, the X one is real. The S one is not. That's a mock-up of where they could take the other launches of this, because it seems like they're building the logo to allow you to add different letters into it, so they could do a Series A, Series B, that kind of thing. So that S1,
but that doesn't make sense. Why would you call it a series if it's just one console? I thought series was the group name for the console, and then you'll be like, all right, so in the Xbox Series X, here's the Xbox, next, here's the Xbox Next Plus or whatever. So I thought it was the over encapsulating, because otherwise the name doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm not saying their names have made any fucking sense up until this point. I guess that's not how words work.
I understand. I guess the idea is the Series X is that new Xbox, and then everything in that series is like these next generations of Xboxes, and this is separate from Xbox One X, Xbox One S, the original Xbox 360. That's the idea as I've come to understand it. As a series is a new line of Xboxes, and so the series whatever, Series 3, Series 2, that's going to be just the next iteration in the line of these series Xboxes coming out. But it is very...
Can you imagine if they just did Xbox 2, Xbox 3, like how much simpler all this would have been?
It would be 100% way more simpler. Yeah, and that's part of the frustration and, where we're left kind of to build our own and fill in the gaps, because we're not quite sure what's going on here. They do end the article here with... so some have been quick to point out that the trademark of Series X by itself, rather than the full Xbox Series X, leaves open the possibility that we'll see multiple versions of Xbox, necessitating I cannot read this word properly. There we go. Necessitating logos to distinguish between them. That's fueled somewhat by rumors that there will be two next-gen Xbox consoles, the Series X and a less powerful digital-only console, apparently codenamed Lockhart. However, Microsoft has made no similar public filings for any other potential console names in recent weeks. Yeah, it was tough getting through that sentence there. But it's a very much I don't like this naming route they've taken with choosing even from like after 360, really starting with 360. They've taken this route where it's almost like really hard for them to bring it around and create their own line of names that make sense while PlayStation has just gone 1, 2, 3, 4 and it works fine, unless you just completely change the name every time with each console. Say like Nintendo does, their GameCube, Switch, they've just created a completely different name under the Nintendo moniker. So maybe Xbox is trying to do something like that with this, where it's Xbox blah blah blah.
That being said, like I was with a lot of people where I really wish with with the Switch, there was a big rumor going around of just calling it the Nintendo, like everyone did back when we were little, and that would have been such a fucking baller move to just call it the Nintendo.
Right. I guess if they, and this would never happen, but if Nintendo eventually went to some kind of like streaming only platform where there would never be a need to buy a box, then I guess it would just be like the Nintendo platform, and then you could call something like that. But it's when you release a thing, you have to call it something different from the last thing, and it becomes sticky, at that point. But
yeah, that being said, I think the logo looks like it's a really cool looking snowboard brand. I would buy this snowboard brand. And that's my only thought. It's fine.
Yeah, and it's just kind of that. It is what it is. It reminds me of like an industrial stamp, like you'd see on like the back of a trailer, or like a some kind of like chemical thing. It's like, don't touch this. And it's got like the Series X button on it, but it has a very industrial thing to it. But it's fine.
That being said, when you say Series X, how many times is Siri gonna go, what did you say?
My phone just did that because this week I switched to an iPhone. It finally came in, and it was lighting up as you were talking about that. Yeah. But we'll see what happens with that. This next one was very exciting, and I was just a hopeful young boy again when I read this article this morning. So this is The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima get new summer release dates. This is Joe Screbbles of IGN. After being delayed indefinitely, The Last of Us Part 2 will be released on June 19th, with Ghost of Tsushima pushing back to July 17th. Sony Interactive Entertainment head of Worldwide Studios Herman Holst said he wants to personally congratulate and thank both the teams at Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch Productions on their achievements. As we know, it's not easy to feat to reach not easy a feat to reach the finish line under these circumstances. Ghost of Tsushima, the samurai open world game made famous by creator Sucker Punch, was originally scheduled for June 26, but has clearly been pushed back to allow Last of Us Part 2 some breathing room. Hulse puts the delays down to some disruptions to our working styles caused by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The Last of Us Part 2 was recently delayed from its May 29th release, and Sony began issuing automatic refunds because of the indefinite nature of the delay. How do you feel about this, Gavin? It wasn't too far of a push than we anticipated, I guess.
I don't know why you need to qualify it with like because of the COVID-19. Like, what the fuck else would it have been?
Yeah, someone
like,
unplugged
you already
something.
Delayed so you could polish it. Like, what else? I don't know. That's cool.
Yeah,
it's I'm glad it happened. That it does look like it's on some sort of track that's not a very far off track. June is only 2 months away, Fonzie. You're gonna be. I'm never gonna see you again. So that's. Or wait, I forget. Does it? There's no multiplayer in Last of Us 2,
there
right?
isn't
they
as part
that?
of. Yeah, well, they didn't scrap it. They're pushing it and making it its own separate release in the future. So they're gonna just create its own thing further down the line. That's what they're saying anyways, but yeah, because the Last of Us original one had a multiplayer bundled into it, but they said for this one, and considering how much they had to delay and stuff as well, like just focus on the single player and then don't worry about multiplayer until you can afterwards.
Delay it more. Do it.
But I'm super stoked. I can't wait. I'm glad that, because it was a very tough pill to swallow when they said, hey, it's going to be indefinitely. We don't know when. We don't know what's going on. That was really just hard to deal with. Emotionally, it's like we're leading up to this release, and then we get no date, not even a pushback, no date. So now that we have something to kind of look forward to, we have an idea. It's a whole lot better for everyone. I'm hoping that nothing gets pushed back further. I'm really hoping that they wouldn't release this until they absolutely made sure. I wonder what happened behind the scenes, if they're able to just allocate enough discs and kind of see, okay, we do have enough if we move this around and create whatever launch that they needed to.
Yeah,
we'll see.
It's interesting. I'll be really interested to finally see Ghost of Tsushima and figure out what it's playing. That being said, they've shown so little. I really wonder if the reason is because it's going to be hella spoilery. And there's going to be so much that can be ruined by watching other people, and it's going to be maybe this game that I had to go la 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 la.
Are you talking about Ghost or Last of Us?
Ghost of Tsushima.
Gotcha.
Like I'm sure Last of Us, yeah, that's going to be spoilery, but like we already know that going in. You need to experience the story. This game's all about the story. We know so little about Ghost of Tsushima. We barely know what the gameplay is like. We've seen barely any of the gameplay, so.
Right. Well, speaking on that, the whole spoilery thing, footage of The Last of Us 2 leaked over the weekend. So this is the next little blurb here. So footage captured from a near final build of The Last of Us 2 was leaked on YouTube over the weekend, causing a cascade of major plot spoilers to flood social media channels and game forums. Yeah. The footage uploaded to YouTube over the weekend seems to depict gameplay and what looks like pivotal cutscenes from the eagerly anticipated game. So this caused me this morning, or over the weekend rather, to... I'm on Twitter all the time as a maniac, so I muted a bunch of any kind of combination of the words "Last of Us" together. Like I just muted all of that because I have no fucking patience for all these spoilers. But yeah, so I took a tweet here from this is IGN's Ryan McCaffrey. He talks on it. So F the Naughty Dog leaker. It's such a kick in the dick to not only players who will/might already had it spoiled for them, but to your coworkers who've worked so hard with you. Maybe management does deserve a middle finger, but why shank the people you bled with on this project? So the running theory is that it's a employee from within Naughty Dog that's leaked this actual footage as a protest to whatever crunch and kind of internal stuff are going on at Naughty Dog, which they are synonymous for crunch. It is a big deal that's going on that they're going to have to deal with publicly for sure. But that's the idea.
I would really like to know if he changed fuck to F because he ran out of characters.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's not the censor. It's like, hey, I don't have any more space here.
It feels really out of place. It's sort of that weird moment of, hey, this is the internet. You can swear here. or is IGN okay with kicking the dick, but not with the word fuck?
See, I think I would also imagine, yeah, it's just a character thing, or he's like going to censor him on the fuck and not the dick part. But we say them both here, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, so that's a running that's a running theory. It was entirely from Naughty Dog, someone that was upset with crunch stuff, and they decided to leak this footage. But I feel like I shared the same idea where I don't think that this helps your cause, or this just only hurts players that were excited for this game by leaking something like that.
I mean, yeah, and it hurts your coworkers because these people, that's a lot of people
Yeah.
that works really hard to keep this airtight. And that's so hard. And having someone ruin, one person probably ruin that for you is just, God, that's disheartening.
It sucks. And there's a lot of ways to go about this because, I mean, you can't just put under the rug the issues with Naughty Dog. If they are causing this crazy crunch culture going on, for sure they need their time in the sun. They need to these issues need to be talked about. But I feel like that can exist separate from this game and allowing consumers, allowing players to experience it without any spoilers. But you can still, get your point across with what's going on with their culture there, if that's what the issue is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this only hurts you as someone in the industry. It's like, good luck if they do pin it to you. It's your build that leaks or whatever. Good luck getting a job in the industry again. It's like, was it worth, completely throwing your career away? It's like, I don't know if I agree with the route they took.
Right. Well, and that's sort of what he says in that second tweet there, but he says, and they will get found out and quite possibly sued. Will they?
I guess if you can for sure
Why
find...
are you so confident in that?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a threatening thing. Yeah, unless they can find, just like when a script leaks or something, they stamp someone's name on it. Unless this build can directly be tied to someone, which maybe it can, because it could be that Naughty Dog knows who has access to whatever was shown. I didn't see what was shown because I don't want to experience that, the spoilers.
Right.
So maybe what happened, the build, they can even track it down to the actual build that was released, and then they can find out who had access to it. I don't know, but I imagine they're also internally going to be looking into who would have the ability to leak something like this.
Yeah. And a lot of times, well, yeah, they're going to do that. But I mean, that's the thing. There's so many employees. I'm sure there's a lot of people that had access to leaking it. And you look at, there's, who's going to have the anti stuff on their screen, right? A lot of times what they'll do is they'll put like a code in the corner of the screen. They'll say whose build is playing, or they'll even have that code move around, which in theory they could just blur out. But there's also, to an extent, you have to fucking trust your staff.
Yeah.
It would feel very strange to work at a company, right, and get paid $100,000 a year and have all these measures around you saying, oh, we don't trust you. That doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel correct.
Right.
So, yeah, you should just be able to trust your fucking employees.
The devil's advocate side to that is that this person was trying to almost use this as a protest. So they're feeling like their whatever working conditions they're under is so oppressive. There's so much crunch going on that they felt like they had to do something big, bombastic, and release this footage so that people would take notice.
Right.
But I don't agree with that. But I feel like that was the idea going with dropping this information, with leaking this stuff, is they wanted to throw a wrench into everything. Say, hey, pay attention. There's crazy crunch going on. We need to talk about it. I don't disagree with the fact that we need to talk about it, but I don't think this is the route to take.
Yeah. And it certainly, in that extent, kind of reminds me of, like, I think we've all had coworkers that don't really understand the concept of, like, they want to punish the boss or punish the company. And, like, usually, like, the people that get punished are just their coworkers because they had to pick up the other person's shit.
Yeah.
And maybe this is just that kind of dumbass that really doesn't understand the way this shit works.
It's possible. Yeah. It sucks.
That's sad, and hopefully the people that want to avoid it can avoid it.
That's me, man. I'm trying. It's hard. It's hard in these streets, dude. Like, I'm muting everything. I'm just treading lightly as I look at, stuff that happens to do with Last of Us. I just, like, once I see that it even mentions The Last of Us, I run away. I almost didn't see this article because I muted any mention of The Last of Us online too. So, like, a lot of these stories just didn't pop up. The fact that they announced the release date, and I knew that was a risk even muting the words in the first place, but I just didn't want any Last of Us spoiler stuff. But it's tough.
Yeah. That being said, this guy, he's still very optimistic about this person getting caught. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I appreciate the optimism. But...
yeah, maybe they can just kind of fade into obscurity and no one finds out that they did it, and it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, still a good story that we're going to get Last of Us. It's going to happen. Do you have any... are you interested at all in playing the original Last of Us, Gavin? I have everything ready for you to borrow. It's ready to go.
One of these days, I will let you duct tape me to a chair and force me to play this game.
Yeah, you got to play it because now you have an end date. You have 2 months. And assuming that that's the real date, you have 2 months to play this Last of Us, to experience the story and see if you hate it or love it, and then
do I though? Because I still don't know the plot to the first one, so I've proved that.
That's what I mean.
It doesn't have to get spoiled. No one has spoiled that game for me.
No, yeah, I just mean that like to before this next one comes out, so you can also experience it as it comes out. You know, you got 2 months to beat The Last of Us.
That's true. That's true.
Yep, and you can, you have the order still stands where you can.
But that's what I said about Final Fantasy VII, though. Like I said,
that you were gonna beat it or play it or what?
Yeah, I wanted to beat it before the remake came out, so I could judge it properly based on the original.
Well, this game at least is like 15 hours. I mean, at 10 hours, it's like you can beat it in a weekend. I feel like it's not the craziest length game. Yeah, we'll see.
But I am a size queen, Fonzie, so you gotta remember.
And I shouldn't have to drag you into playing one of the best games ever. So it's like at a certain point, I gotta let you go and just like realize that it might not be your thing.
It's always those things though, because there've been like I think more so with movies where like I play, like you've been recommending a movie for years or something, and then I finally watch it. I'm like, why didn't you just duct tape me to a chair and force me to watch this fucking movie?
This is one of those, man.
Like this weekend, I finally watched. I don't know why somebody hadn't forced me to watch. I finally watched Tremors.
Oh, you haven't seen it? They're dope.
Yeah, I'd never seen it, and I was gonna do a workout, and Netflix recommended it for me, so I'm like, hey, that's my workouts. An hour 10 minutes. This is an hour 30 minutes. Let's knock out a big dumb corny movie, and it's aged very well. Loved it.
That's I think the original has Kevin Bacon, right? I think by the sequel.
Oh yeah, Kevin Bacon, and they made him look ugly too.
Oh god,
which I appreciate, because normally he's like, I feel like they tried to make him a heartthrob, but this is like a fugly looking Kevin Bacon with a mullet, and
They
anyway,
kept
back to
making
video games.
They made like 10, 20
They did.
Tremors. They're not
to my
good.
understanding, I need to stop while I'm ahead at one. But now I'm on to Minority Report, so we're going to see. We're finally going to get me all caught up.
Ooh, Minority Report's really good. I like that movie a lot.
That's what I hear. One of Spielberg's best.
Yep. I've been on an action kick movie as well, or action movie kick, where I've been watching Blade 2. I watched, and then a newer one just on a whim was with Thor, with Chris Hemsworth on Netflix, called Extraction. It's actually pretty dope.
I kind of wish I had, because when I watched the trailer for it, it really reminded me of like a Die Hard, but with like different stakes, like bigger stakes than Die Hard. And I almost wish I'd watched it without the review, because I saw the reviews first and they're like,
I thought it was fine. If you just watch Tremors, it's a good movie to watch right after Tremors, because it's going to compare very good to that.
Well, but I mean, Tremor, I don't know. I still like the heart in Tremors. Tremors had a lot of heart. 100% of the hero. It's not like heroes we're used to nowadays, where like they're the best at something, and they're 100% of all male protagonists are always like this man-child snarky that gets the girl at the end of the day despite his immaturity. These were just like schlubs. They weren't even that good at what they did. They just they threw away the garbage and shit. They could ride a horse. That's why they kind of became the protagonists. It was like, how fucking refreshing is that to have Joe Schmo?
Yep. Yeah, they got their Trump hats on, and they're avoiding tremors coming out of the ground, and it's a good the salt of the earth people.
I don't know how they'd feel about that. I think the gun nut in the, and that was the funny thing. They even make fun of the gun nuts in the movie. They're like, when they find out they need all their guns, they're like, I guess we have to stop making fun of their lifestyle now. Right. So
yeah, I got to revisit that. It's been a while.
No, it's classic.
Well, Gavin, our next one here is PUBG adds bots to help new players not just die immediately. This is Games Radar.
Fucking why?
Well, let's break it down. We got Games Radar. Connor Sheridan has the details. PUBG now has bots, the kind that help newer players learn the game, not the kind that shoot you from across the map with aim hacks. Developer PUBG Corp added bots to the influential Battle Royale game in Update 7.1 last week. PUBG Corp said it's noticed that more and more new players are being taken out of matches early without even dealing any damage, making it tough to start. Adding in bots will hopefully let new players get familiar with PUBG's combat mechanics without immediately dying from veterans' cross-map sniper shots. The first iteration of PUBG bots use custom navigation tools for each map to make sure they can get around without running into walls or jumping off cliffs. They also use the same bullet physics as everyone else. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, the bots' loot. It's a delicate balance, since PUBG Corp didn't want to make them walking loot pinatas, though they still need to be somewhat realistic. The bots use algorithms from player data to determine what they should be looting based on what stage of the game they're in. PUBG Corp says players with a higher matchmaking rank are less likely to engage bots, and the next iteration of ranked play coming in May will not feature any bots at all. How do you feel about this, Gavin? Is this controversial to you? Is it not a big deal?
Players with a higher matchmaking rank are less likely to engage bots. Huh,
Yeah, what if they just spawn
that's neat.
less and like in a higher play level?
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I think, like, especially you watch a lot of streamers for it, the first thing they do in these games is they rush for the high impact areas. You want to go to the school and get in, like, a bunch of gunfights. And yeah, maybe you get take out in a couple of seconds and you get right back in and do it again. And that's sort of the neat, exciting thing of it is even if you're really good, you're not going to win 100% of the time. You're going to die in 5 seconds. So
Right.
it's nice to know that that's not out. It's going to be tricky to see this implemented, and yeah, I don't know. I really hope when they say less likely to engage bots when you're higher ranked, I hope it's all the way unlikely. If you're ranked higher, if you pass a certain degree of goodness in this game, just no more bots.
Right.
That's the way it should be.
That's how it should be because they have such a dedicated, really extreme player base, fan base. Like they have a high
Mhm.
play level, so you don't want to fuck with them basically by adding a bunch of bots. But if you have these newer
Right.
people coming in, and if it's the way they're saying, where you're just getting demolished over and over again, it wouldn't hurt to have some bots in there to give you a sense of like you're progressing, you're playing the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean that's the thing is at the end of the day, one of the biggest satisfying factors of these types of games is you outlasted 99 people.
Right.
And taking that away a little bit kind of sucks. So that's yeah. If it goes away, the further you in, I'm fine with it.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I know with Fortnite, the time that I do play with Fortnite, there is a lot of bots in there, and you experience them often, all the time. And it's kind of obvious because they'll be like hacking away at a wall for no reason, mining for
right.
something, or just running in a weird direction. It's pretty obvious that they're there. But then
Mhm.
there's a way of looking at it where it's like they just have a lot of loot on them, so it's like now they're just moving, like they mentioned, loot pinatas, where they're just moving with items. You shoot them, you take them out, you take their stuff, so they don't really bother you. There's still plenty of human players, so they just kind of it's a way to
Right.
to grab a bunch of stuff and keep moving.
I think the one thing this does will do better though is I can't imagine like how the fuck are you gonna program proper AI for a Fortnite bot? You can't. There's a gargantuan amount of stuff that you would have to keep track of, like building. Do they even build? How would you even work that out?
Yeah, just recently I seen one build a very like rudimentary platform as defense when I was shooting at them, but I haven't seen
Right.
them build. Of course, they haven't built like the crazy like skyscrapers like everyone else does, but
Right.
they have a basic level, but it's nothing advanced.
Yeah, when I see good people streaming that, they're doing all sorts of weird stuff, manipulating, like they're really manipulating the game in a base code, taking advantage of every little thing. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't do that with this. But this would be a little more simple, just knowing where to load based on what you're doing. Maybe even taking it into advantage player sound. Do we want to go towards that? It'd be a lot easier to do the proper state machines and get the AI to do things properly. So I think the AI will be a lot better
Yeah, and
than it will be in Fortnite. So at least has that advantage of you can make these as challenging as you want.
right, and I think the key is to make sure that only this pops up way more often, if only at all, like in the beginning with newer players, and then it really fizzles out by the time you get to someone who's an experienced player. Like it's up to them to balance that, and maybe it's tough to actually balance, but that's the key to making this work.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
Yep, yep. So we'll see what happens with that PUBG. Now we have Gears Tactics just released. It releases tomorrow on PC rather. It has a pretty dope Metascore at 81. So I'm gonna pull up some footage too and kind of check it out. How do you feel about
Now
this style?
and now you can get it for basically free because you have Game Pass.
True, but I don't have it on PC, and I know with the Game Pass on PC you have
Is it
to.
not on console?
It's not on console just yet. I think it's just releasing on PC. That was something I was reading online. So maybe eventually, but I know like right off the bat it's a PC thing. Type away on that loud ass keyboard.
Shut the fuck.
Sounds like you have potato chips under each key, and you're just crunch and glass, and you're just crunching away.
um, yeah, it'll only be available on the PC via both the Windows.
Right. I don't know for how long, like what they intend on, if there is a PC port in the works or what the deal is, but
You, huh?
but with this style of gameplay, what do you think? Are you tied to it or enticed by it? Like, what do you think when you check this stuff out?
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking about it earlier. It seems interesting to me. I'd like to try it, even though I don't like this style of gameplay. Something I thought, kind of looking at the reviews, was very interesting, and a compliment people gave it is the fact that it's not on a grid. Plays very much to its strength. It plays a little bit more like a more traditional analog video game that way. And something that, oddly enough, almost remind me of Mario versus Rabbids or whatever it's called, is some of the team dynamics. So something in the game that's sort of neat is, let's say you use up all your action points on a character, but another character executes somebody, then you get points back. Or maybe it's not if you use up all your points. Like, I think if you execute an enemy using an execution, the everyone else besides that character gets an action point.
Gotcha.
So you can use that, and you can sort of tag team stuff. And they really mention, like, when you're in these combat situations, you could really pull a rabbit out of your hat and turn something that's dire into something where you come out on top. And it's very gory. It's very Gears, which is really lucky because it came out at the same time as XCOM, whatchamacallit.
Oh, sure. That was like that kind of stealth XCOM game that released. I forget about that.
Yeah, XCOM Chimera Squad, which is very similar in the fact that the original XCOM, right? It's like if you lose somebody, they're gone forever. Whereas in this, if you lose somebody who's a named character, you have to restart the mission. And
Gotcha.
and Gears has a very similar. So it's neat that they kind of went a similar route. But this does feel different and earns its own place because it feels like a Gears game mixed with a tactics game. So I'm like proud at this point of them. I didn't think they would manage that as fully as people are saying they are.
Yeah.
And people in the reviews, people are saying, like, for all the sins that it does, for everything that it does wrong, it's not bad enough to ruin it.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, no, I hear the same kind of stuff shared online. Some of the blurbs here from, so we have IGN gives it an 80. Gears Tactics does an excellent job of crafting Gears' signature look and feeling onto a feel on XCOM's turn-based battle format. Looks great doing it. Destructoid also gives it a 90 rather. There's a smart experience here, one that feels both authentically Gears and Tactics. That's the best possible outcome. Gears Tactics is a great Gears game and a great Tactics game. This 90% does not miss. GameSpot gives it an 80. Though Gears Tactics wears itself a little thin by the end of its protracted campaign, the rush of pulling together a victory from the jaws of defeat carries an exciting, chaotic energy. Unlike most strategy games, playing well doesn't necessarily make you feel like a mastermind, so much as though you've cheated death. Every successful plan, even last-ditch effort, feels like a small stroke of genius. That's no small feat. So yeah, I mean, pretty positive across the board, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never was really tied into this like style of gameplay, but with the wrapping paper of Gears, like added to it, seems more interesting to me rather. But I'm still just like I've never was tied to that. Maybe it was a bit more actiony, but I'd rather just play Gears instead of this kind of thing.
right, yeah, and I get that, and it's very. I mean, it's kind of interesting too because I feel it kind of depends too on your type of gameplay with Gears because it's so weird. Because when I play Gears, I huddle up behind my cover. And I rarely, like, I'm just shooting from out from behind that. But if you ever watch, like, pro play, these people are bouncing off of fucking walls, shotgunning people at light speed. So it's interesting, really, how it's played and how it's meant to be played. And they still develop it knowing people are going to do that way. And they let people do it. So going back to this, it almost goes back to more that original idea of stop and pop. But, yeah, it's fucking cool, dude. And it'd be interesting to see how it feels being a team as opposed to being one person. And these games have always been about a group of people.
Gotcha.
So the fact that you're playing the whole group rather than just one is pretty neat.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so this released very close to another competitive game that's very similar to this is XCOM Chimera Squad. Have you watched much streams of this? What do you think of this one? It is a very similar style game, but that XCOM franchise is well known.
I have not. To my limited understanding with Chimera Squad, the big improvements are better destructibility. For its small price tag, it's actually got a lot packed in there. The fact that you have named characters is kind of interesting. So I hear it's surprisingly good for coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, it seems like it was a stealth release where I feel like last week, maybe a couple days it was announced and then it actually dropped or something similar to that. But like I'm looking at footage, it's very much that it's more of a cartoony style, I'd feel like, compared to the other XCOMs, but still within that, that universe. But this one also was received well, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I just was never. They were never on my radar so much with that gameplay type. But I know people really love this.
No. Yeah, and I don't like them. I played XCOM. When they first started coming out again, I played XCOM 1, and it just doesn't. It's not for me, but it's a lot of people just adore these games.
Yep. You know what I wonder? This reminds me very lightly with that newer John Wick game that came out. It almost had elements of that, but not as many options or as fleshed out. But it kind of had that little bit of tactical nature to it. I don't know if that was the best, tie-in with something like John Wick, but it reminds me of that kind of style.
Ugh.
Yeah, I never finished it. I downloaded it, I bought it, but I just never finished it.
I still can't believe it got such good reviews. Like, let me.
Yeah, it was well received, and I think I wonder if I just wasn't into it, but I feel like if people are a fan of that style, then that's where it shined.
Yeah, Metacritic gave it a 74.
Yeah.
People really.
Yeah, I kind of chalked it up too. It's just not for me. That's why I kind of pulled away from it. But yep. Well, we'll see. With that Chimera game, we'll see how that goes. And then, so I have seen footage of this.
Yeah, I showed you this, but I figured we're doing the podcast.
Yeah, this one's pretty nuts.
If anyone hasn't seen this game, the only thing I didn't really like about this was the music. I think the music is kind of meh.
You said the music?
Yeah, I feel like the music is kind of meh in this trailer.
Gotcha. I have this pulled up, the gameplay here. We're streaming. It's
let me know when you're hitting play.
Okay, yeah, so I just hit play. So yeah, it's this bear. You're just wrecking shit. Very Doom-like. Almost like Ratchet and Clank style at the same time, too.
Right. I mean, the graphics are pretty, like it's going for simplified, but they're, pretty good with sort of what it's playing with some of the effects. Yep. And textures, and I love that you can have 3 arms and triple wield. It looks like you may be able to do even more arms than that at some point, which I love that hilarity. It always bugged me that things sort of stopped at dual wielding. No one went to tri wielding or quad wielding. I mean, to be fair, there was a game on Dreamcast. I want to say it was like MDK2 or something like that.
Remember
that allowed you to quad wield.
I don't remember that, but I do remember that game.
I remember that part where you could quad wield was interesting from the fact that the shooting wasn't that difficult. It was more like managing all your guns and ammo at that point of having 4 hands.
Right.
And then to a certain extent with the Darkness 1 more so than the Darkness 2, you're sort of quad wielding, but 2 of your arms are tentacles that can do different things. And you really would use all 4 at the same time a lot of the times. So...
Yeah, especially with this Bears in Space, the trailer they end on, it's just completely fills the window of all the different guns at once. It's 10 whatever, which might be a special ability or whatever, but really cool, really unique looking style, and I can't wait to play. I'm not sure if it's only PC or if there's a console release plan, but I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out on this one.
I don't know. I know it sounded like from a post that I even discovered it on MGear. It sounds like the team is very, very indie. So I don't know what kind of resources they have. Those robots look pretty basic. They're probably fun to fight.
Sure.
But they look pretty basic. So
yeah, so it looks like Broadside Games. I'm seeing them on Twitter, and it looks like a pretty small outlet, but they're able to produce something pretty nuts. So. I can't wait to play this.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. You have to stand out. You have to kind of create something unique like that.
You do. Yeah, you do. So, and it seems like they've succeeded. So I hope at this point, the new struggle when you get a game like this is you got to not bore me within the run of the game. It's so hard nowadays to find a game that will pull me through to the end.
Yep. Especially after finishing Doom, this is another game that I feel like is going to scratch that itch, just because it's so crazy. And there's somewhat platforming in the trailer. It looks like you have a magnetic tool. I don't know about the puzzle solving or if that's an aspect of it, but the gunplay looks pretty solid, pretty dope.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's even a problem I had with Journey to the Savage Plant, where I was like, oh, this is pretty fun.
And then it just kind of tapers off.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Still haven't finished it. I need to finish it. I'm probably not that far from the end.
Yeah.
But
that's cool. I think it's a Game Pass game, but I just haven't jumped into that one. But
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, may not be anymore now that they're owned by Google or whatever.
Oh, with Stadia. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'll make sure and keep my Stadia account then, just so I can play that game there. That's a
Right.
get. All right, Gavin. Well, that was it for this week. We'll end it there. Where can they find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at DrunkDevs.
Nice. And you can find us as well on Twitter, Plastic Heart Pod on Twitter as well. That's it for us this week. We will see you next week. Bye bye.